From
Wow.
midnight to like 5 a.m., we rebuilt and painted Sauron's armor to fit me. And then at 6 a.m., we did a live feed to Peter Jackson that was on one of the other. We had 9 units that were shooting all at once throughout New Zealand. And so we had a satellite feed that we were sending it straight to Peter. And I got on this stage type rostrum, and the guys had fire and lights in the background. And they did this rock video type thing of me as Sauron.
Welcome to It Was All a Dream with me, Nathersonn. Today I'm joined by Sala. Sala, if you want to introduce yourself, let people know who you are and what it is you do.
Hello, my name is Sala Baker. I'm an actor, producer, creator, and writer, learning to write as we keep going. And I love helping people, and only because of life being so hard and everything being hard, we just got to keep going and keep the punches rolling and make sure that consistency is the key so we can get to where we want to go.
That's amazing. So, you mentioned you obviously do a bit of acting. You're a stuntman as well. Bit of writing and producing. Was that sort of entertainment field, or was your dream when you were younger?
So, always, been an athlete in New Zealand, playing rugby, basketball, soccer, all the sports. And then couldn't play them because they were all on Sunday, religious days, because I was raised Christian, my mum and dad. And so all the training days were on Sunday. Actually, the game days were on Sundays, but the training days were during the week. So couldn't really do that. And then because we're religiously raised and Christian, I got into doing the plays, the obviously church plays and stuff. And, didn't like it. Hated it, getting on stage, playing all these different characters in the Bible, and then realized later on, once I was in the industry, was that I had basically, drama experience on getting on the, that's why, I couldn't do one thing. I decided to go this way, but then getting into the dramatic arts and the film and television industry, that's where my background came from. And always was like, oh, I want to be a sports, athlete. And then I was like, I don't think I can do that now because I'm over here and I can't, my parents won't allow me to do it. So then Lord of the Rings came along and they were auditioning in New Zealand. And my buddy was like, hey, dude, you want to go audition for Lord of the Rings? And I'm like, what's that? Because I was a Dungeons and Dragons and Star Trek nerd.
Yeah.
I had the Star Trek badge, I was reading the Dungeons and Dragons books, and he was like, oh, it's this, trilogy movie about this and that. Then they're looking for auditions, they're looking for big guys. And I think the advert was like looking for large Polynesian type builds, 6 foot and above. And I was like, oh, my friend took 4 hours to convince me to go. So I ended up going and I auditioned for one of the extras. And then the casting agent was like, I did 3 auditions as an extra. My buddy came with me. He didn't end up getting in. And then they were like, oh, yeah, you'd be great as an extra. Actually, you want to try it for the stunt team? And I was like, what's that? And they were like, oh, it's the action team in films. And I was like, oh, cool. So I did and auditioned and ended up making it in to the 30 people that they ended up needing for the stunt team. And then, the rest is history.
So I was doing a bit of like background research on that actually. And I see that you originally went for that stuntman and then you got cast as Sauron, I believe.
Dude. Yeah. So we made it on the team and there was 5 of us that I was one of the guys who got picked, and then they went to a martial arts school and got the other 5 guys. So we went and joined the other 30 plus people, stuntmen and women on the Lord of the Rings team.
Yeah.
And so the 6 guys that were picked were all 6 foot and above, 6'2", 6'3". And so what the 3 guys that I ended up working with a lot was that this was heard a lot when on Lord of the Rings stunt team. Sala, Mana, and Mu. Sala and my other 2 good friends and best friends, Mana and Mu, Winham. So because we were like, we just big energies, you know, and we ended up being used as, okay, we need 3 big guys to fight Vigo. Okay, Sala, Mana, Mu. Okay, we need three Urukais to fight Orlando. Sala, Mana, Mu. Okay, we need 3 guys to fight Aragorn. Sala, Mana, Mu. We need 3 guys, and it just went on and on and on. So we were used consistently as different characters fighting a lot of the lead actors because we were the bigger guys, you know? And then so we were doing Helm's Deep, the Battle of Helm's Deep, the crash, the wall, the blow up all over, you know, climbing the wall. And then one of the nights they go, hey, Sala, we need you to come in early tomorrow. And I'm like, I'm already coming in at 5, man. What do you guys want? They said, no, we need you to come in now. I said, it's 11:30 at night. They said, yes, we need to refit the suit to pitch you to Peter Jackson to play the Dark Lord Sauron. And I was like, what? So apparently what had happened was, so I went, what? I got up, jumped out of my bed, in my car, didn't even shower, and just went straight. I was at Weta Workshop in half an hour. We rebuilt the Sauron armor over the next 4 hours. The guys were, it was like this whole anvil like thing, but it was just like they were remaking the suit, they were cutting it, I was staying there, and they would resize it. Oh no, cut it bigger or smaller. And for the next 5 hours, from midnight to like 5 a.m., we rebuilt and painted Sauron's armor to fit me. And then at 6 a.m., we did a live feed to Peter Jackson that was on one of the other, we had 9 units that were shooting all at once throughout New Zealand. And so we had a satellite feed that we were sending it straight to Peter. And I got on this stage type rostrum, and the guys had fire and lights in the background, and they did this rock video type thing of me as Sauron. Because they were like, who are we gonna, like in the dailies, pre-calling me, they were like, look, we need a new Sauron. We need a new Sauron. Who's it going to be? And because the Sala Mana Mu show had been happening and I had done a lot of stuff myself, they were like, who are we going to get to play Sauron? And one of the first ADs, Richard, goes, what about Sala? One of the other producers goes, what about Sala? What about Sala? What about Sala? Boom. So then I got that call at like 11:30. And then I go there, we do the video. It like, by the end of the video, my arms are cut, sliced, bruised, because it didn't quite fit, but we were just trying to get the gist of it. And bruised, my body was completely covered in bruises. But I was like, who gives a shit? I'm going to get this job. I'm going to make all the movements like they want. And I just sold it. Dude, within an hour, I was Sauron.
That's incredible. How was it being like casted in front of like Peter Jackson?
It was like Peter's just, he's one of the guys, he's a Kiwi, you know, so like sometimes he'd come to set with no shoes.
Amazing.
Bare feet. You know, he's that type of guy, shorts, bare feet, and a puffer jacket, and we're in the snow.
Yeah.
Like, or we're just in the back, you know, backwoods.
That's amazing.
And he's, you know, he was such a great director because he was the first one I'd ever worked with, you know, and I'll always say he's great, but now years later, he's obviously literally great.
Yeah.
So he had just explained to me about the story of like, you know, when you're wielding this mace, like think of like you have all this power of the whole of Middle Earth that you're about to destroy with this mace. And he was like, you know Darth Vader, right? And I go, yeah. He says, well, when you swing this mace, Darth Vader is nothing compared to you. And I was like, oh, what did you just say? And then I just turned into freaking Sauron, bro. And it was just
incredible.
It was amazing.
That's a real cool story. So how old was you at that time?
So I was probably 21.
Okay.
when I joined the team and spent 19 months full-time shooting of all 3 films.
19 months. That's incredible. So would you say that that was the point that you kind of felt inspired to go into acting and like pursue that career?
Well, here's the thing. I've always wanted to do acting. Let's
Yeah.
back it up really quickly. I'll give it to short. I've always wanted to do acting, but when I went to do acting, and I'd only get these like supermarket commercials where I was like, and action, and I'd take a piece of fish out of the trailer and put it on the thing, you know, like it was a new world commercial back in the day. And just like it is in America, right? In every other country, the brown Polynesian roles, there were like 5 guys, just like in America. Denzel, Jamie Foxx, you know, the big guys, Will Smith, you know, the guys that are the main ones, right? So when I was coming up, dude, everything I would go for, I would never get. I would only get like, because it's the same guys getting those roles, right? And so I was like, you know what? I want to do acting, but it was just so hard to get into it in New Zealand because it was like all the roles were held down by these guys that always took those characters, those kinds of roles. So then came the Lord of the Rings thing. I was like, I'll just get in doing stunts and I'll just figure my way out. Right. And then I got Sauron and it was like, oh, okay, here we go. And then I got other acting roles in Lord of the Rings playing, you know, orc lieutenants, Uruk-hai, and, you know, had dialogue and all these cool things. So I was like, oh, here we go. I'm getting acting through stunts.
Yeah.
And so that's how I started with my villain roles. And again, because in Lord of the Rings, I played 5 different characters. So like a lot of the actors in New Zealand, like the actors that have been doing it for a long time, also there were so many characters that everyone could play 5 or 6, you know, roles.
Yeah.
Because there's so many characters. And so basically going from there, I was like, okay, I had met with one of the producers, Michael Desky, and while being on set with being an Uruk-hai, Katie Jackson was on set, Peter Jackson's daughter, and she was maybe 5 or 6. Okay. And I was in prosthetics, Uruk-hai prosthetics, and I had my white teeth. I didn't have my veneers on. And Katie and I end up having this connection. She loved my voice, but my face was Uruk-hai. But she always liked me. She was like, oh, so I was sitting next to the monitor with Katie. I was like, oh my gosh, Peter, the daughter, wants me over here. So then this thing turned into, hey, when I got onto set, they're like, Peter Jackson needs to talk to you. And I'm like, oh, what? I didn't do anything. I get there and it's like, oh, Katie wants to talk to you. I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm the Katie Jackson's little, you know, pet.
Yeah.
Cut to a couple months later, I get a call from Michael Desky. Hey, you've been requested at Peter Jackson's house.
Wow.
I'm like, what? What did I do now? I get there. Hey, Mark. Hey, Peter. Oh, Katie wants to see you. She's in the theater room. Katie just wanted to watch a movie with me. So I'm at the house, and Michael Desky, the producer, was like, how are you here? Like, you know, what's a stunt guy doing at Peter Jackson's house? Because that normally never happens.
Yeah.
And then he said, you must have something about you. Like, you know, I went from not knowing the Lord of the Rings to being invited to Peter Jackson's house to play with his daughter.
Yeah.
And then so he was like, what do you really want to do? And I said, to be honest, I want to do acting. And I want to go to Los Angeles. And he says, why? And I says, you know, because that's where I've watched, you know, Boys in the Hood, all these films from LA Confidential. And I was like, oh man, I need to go to LA and see what's going on over there. And he says, yeah, because I believe you'll do well over there. He says, okay, he said, he didn't say that there. He said, let's meet on Saturday at this cafe at 11 a.m. because I was at his house on Friday night. He says, tomorrow morning, let's meet at the cafe. And I was like, okay, cool. He says, okay, I think your talent's being wasted here because you just look like everyone else here. There's a lot of people who look like you, but in Los Angeles, there's very few that look like you. And I think you'll do well. And I was like, oh, holy bananas. To me, I was like, this white American producer wants me to go to America.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, with this accent, because New Zealand has no American accents, and then Americans come over and they're like, you're wasted here. Go to America, go to LA. And I was like, okay. Next 6 months, I packed up everything, I sold everything, and I went over to LA with like $2,000.
That's
and
incredible.
just try to figure it out. Because what happened was, I had met someone. I'd been invited to Comic-Con with Lord of the Rings to do autographs, to do, pre Lord of the Rings before it came out.
Yeah.
And so I went to New Line, flew me over there. They were like, oh my gosh, now that you're Sauron, you're going to go to all these conventions all over the world. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. and then they said, yeah, okay, we want to fly you to LA to do Comic-Con. And then I met this agent who was like, dude, I want to pay you to do autographs. And I was like, well, New Line's paying me $1 to sign these posters. And he laughed in my face, because I'd never made US dollars. And by signing 250 posters, I'd made $250 US. And to me, back in 1999, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah. He goes, $1 a signature. What about 25? And I'll fly you all over the world and be your agent. And I was like, what did you just say? And so he ended up flying me across from New Zealand a lot. And then I ended up just going back home, selling everything, and moving to LA with no green card, no social security, no nothing, dude. Just because I went to that one Comic-Con, I made, a couple thousand US dollars. And I was like, whoa, I've never made this money just writing my name.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, cool, let's do this. And then he ended up sponsoring my visa to stay in the country. He ended up giving me cars, because he'd had like 25 cars. And so, because he would buy and sell cars, buy cars, do them up, and then sell them. And he's also one of the largest Star Wars collectors in the world.
Wow.
But so anyway, he ended up sponsoring me, and I ended up getting a O1 visa through him, through an artist of. You were an alien. This is what they used to call us, bro. An alien of extraordinary ability.
That's a cool nickname. I've heard worse.
Yeah, but so then I just was like, then my whole LA experience started, and I was just like jumping around people's couches, and I was, walking around. On what I would do is, whatever money I'd left, like I would go and get some headshots done on La Brea. Yeah. It was like $120 for 120 photos. And then I would staple them to the back of my headshots, and I would stand on Hollywood Boulevard and Sunset Boulevard waiting for actors to walk around. And then I would follow them into auditions and try and jump in on auditions. And they were like, wow. You have an audition? I was like, yeah, my name's right there. They were like, yeah, but we don't have you on our list. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's just, must have been a mistake. Well, while I'm here, I might as well do it, right? And they're like, sure. And I did it for a while. Now,
did you land any roles?
Nothing. I got nothing. But here's the cool thing about it. Getting nothing, but constantly going after something, showed me the hustle. Because then I went to the 99-cent store and basically would spend $25 at the 99-cent store, but you could get 70 packs of ramen noodles. And I would have half a packet of ramen noodles with some sauce and some seasoning. And that's what I would eat every day, drink a lot of water to get full, tap water. And then I would just follow people to auditions. And that's because I was like, hey, stop crying. Everyone's doing it. Everyone's eating ramen noodles. Who cares?
Yeah.
And so
that's an incredible story, to be fair.
It taught me the hustle and the grind. Just because you don't get anything out of it, you don't know that you're not getting anything out of it. You could be learning, like hustle, grind, the never give up attitude. And that was my thing. When I first went to America, I was like, I'm never going home. Never going home.
Yeah, feels like home.
Or it's like, 8 years would go by and I'm like, oh, nothing's happening. But I'm like, who cares? Who cares? Yeah. I'm not going home. And now 23 years later, I'm doing well and consistently working, thanks to God. And, grateful for every opportunity that I'll just give my best, you know. And to me, it's like if you don't get every audition, like no one's going to get every audition, like no one's going to win every time. But if you look at it in a way where you're winning by learning something new every time, then the thought of winning is not the point.
Yeah, and I think also one thing that I learned, especially from, because I mean, trying to do like photo shoots, especially with like bands and stuff like that, you get so many knockbacks, you get so many no's or no replies, and I've had tons over like 10 years, you know. And one thing that I found was that from the no's, what I learned was the worst anybody could say is no.
And who
You know,
cares? Like,
yeah, and I use that then, and I was like, do you know what? I will DM this person. I'll email that agent because the worst they can do is either not respond or say no.
yeah.
But the best
And
they can do is say yes.
absolutely. And at the end of the day, the no's are still good.
Yeah.
Because it teaches you, like, if you think about it, like even in golf terms, right? Tiger Woods, the greatest golfer of all time, the greatest golfer. He is the greatest golfer of all time, right? I'll say that again.
Yeah.
He only won, which is still a high percentage, 26% of the tournaments he played.
Yeah.
That's a lot to be the greatest in the world. And look at how many he missed. He lost, but he's still the greatest. And there's another term that I saw on social media the other day in the analogy of the greatest golf shot that Tiger Woods ever played, right? The shot where he hits it out of the rough onto the green and it rolls around and then it almost stops on the Nike sign.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it. And then it drops in.
Right? But think about this. Think about this. Considerably the greatest shot of a golf shot ever played on the planet. But in this social media post, they say, do you know what shot happened before that? The worst shot. He shanked his tee shot left 25 feet into the rough.
Yeah.
But he didn't let that get to him. Out of nothing, God will show you the way. And he made the most amazing shot ever. So you will get the storm before you will see the light.
Yeah.
And most people don't want to fight to go through that storm.
Absolutely. I think I think it's the fear that holds people back more than anything, I'd say.
But here's the thing. For me, and this is going to happen in life, fear means you're supposed to go that way. And when you choose to go the place that most people don't go, wait till you see the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
Your hard work. You're going, you know what? I don't know what's going to happen about this, but I'm going to give it my best. Right? Prime example, happened to me yesterday. The guy sent me for an audition. Hey, we're going to do this audition. And I was like, I don't really want to do it. Who cares? I was like, I'm going to Birmingham. I'm going to make some good money over there. I don't even want to do the audition.
Yeah.
And I delayed it and I delayed it. And I even was like, you know what? I can't do it because the Wi-Fi is so bad, right? But then I was like, I'll do it, right? My wife was like, just do it, man. You know, like I went upstairs, I did it. I sent it in, I sent everything in. And within 45 minutes, they were like, yo, I heard you killed that audition. They're going to call you to see if your availability. And then they called me and says, hey, you available from August to November? And I was like, yeah. And I was like, and I hung up and I was like, look at that. Well, you look at that. The exact thing I'm saying. I didn't want to do it. Oh, man. Then I did it and it was like, oh, now I got an option to do the job.
Yeah.
So it still happens to this day is also what I'm saying. Like, even I can be as successful as I am, loving what I do, it's almost going, you know what? I don't want to do it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden I do it.
Yeah.
Boom. The fruits of your, like, you just got to keep believing all the way. You see the best actors in the world at the actors table. Denzel Washington, Robert De Niro, they all have the same story of like, man, before I started this movie, I didn't know whether I was going to do it justice.
Yeah.
But then you see them after, they're like, oh, and even when they finish the movie, they're like, oh man, I don't know if I should have changed that line I did over here, and I shouldn't have done that. I should have did this. But then when it comes out, everyone's like, oh my gosh.
Can't imagine anyone else playing that role, sort of thing. Like Denzel in Equalizer. Nobody else could play that role. I'm sure there's millions, but you're like, the world's like, nah, it's Denzel. Like, you can't replace him.
Dude, and working with him on that movie was like epic.
I can imagine.
Because that's where Tate
you
and I
worked with Tate, yeah. So you worked with Tate on that, right?
That was the third film we did together. It was Transcendence. We did a smaller movie in New Mexico, and then we went straight to the Equalizer. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's 3 in a row, bro. And he was like, it's like a relationship. Because him and I were the big guys. The big guys who are mobile, the guys who can move well, and the guys who can act.
Yeah.
You know, and that's hard to find. But now these days, there's a lot of young guys that are big, that can move and can act. So it's good to see, you know.
Yeah.
But that's how I met Tate. And we had, you know, from then on, we were just like brothers forever.
That's cool. I like I said, I appreciate him connecting us up.
I'll wait for the questions, but I'm excited because a lot of those, like, doing what you want to do is such a belief system.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so, I'll wait till you ask the questions, but I'm, super excited to get into this because it's being great at something takes a shitload of work.
Yeah.
And consistently believing in yourself.
Yeah, you've got to be the main person to believe, right?
Well, it's because it's like there's so many analogies out there, but like Muhammad Ali is the best, right?
Yeah.
You have to say you're the greatest and believe in it in order for everything to happen. Now, you don't have to say it once. You have to keep telling yourself that because there are times where you're not going to feel like you're the greatest. And you still have to change the narrative because we're all going to have the downs. Oh my gosh, I'm not that good today. Fuck, I didn't do anything. Excuse my language. I didn't do anything. But at the end of the day, it's like fighting through that.
Yeah.
Is an ordeal in its own.
Yeah, absolutely. You know? I to be fair, there's actually a question that I asked you about where it mentions about like who's your idols, like personal or business. And for me, one of mine, Muhammad Ali, it was more of his attitude. Like people like how like he has nothing to do with what I like do for business and stuff like that. But as a like his mentality and mindset was what I was like, I love that. A little bit cocky, but he believes he's the best, and that was it.
Well, but like you can't go into anything thinking you're subpar or average because that's how people are going to treat you, right? And if you don't hold yourself highly, my dad used to say, son, when you walk out the door, you look great. You look like you are he didn't say $1 million, but in our Samoan culture, he would say, dress to impress. Yeah. Because just by the way you dress, people would treat you differently, no matter what color your skin is. If you dress and look nice, people are going to be like, wait, who's that?
Yeah.
And then they just automatically do it. And it's sad.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a part of the whole believing yourself. I got to look this so that people will be like, ooh. So as a stuntman, first getting into the film industry, when I go to set, I'm like out, bro. Yeah. Hats, fedoras, like the waistcoats, everything, bro. And people used to like, no one knew who I was, but people were like, is that the director? Is that the producer? Who is that?
He looks important.
It's very important. It's very like, some people will take it the wrong way, but it's like, you have to dress to impress because you just have to get yourself in the door or get people to come to you.
Yeah.
In a sense of like, whoa, who is that? I want to talk to that person, man or woman, that dressed a certain way where I'm like, whoa, maybe I want to look like that.
Yeah.
And then you lift everyone else around you because no one wants to Now, when they see Sala, he's always dressed like, clean, fresh and so clean. So then people like step up their game, and you can get a lot further just by that, a good positive attitude, and believing in that 100% that, look, I'm not saying I'm the greatest, but I'm going to be at what I'm going to do, and consistency and consistently believing in yourself, because there's always going to be the doubt, like I said earlier, but you have to change the narrative and be like, okay, this is hard. Doesn't mean I'm not going to do it. I'm a jack of all trades. And the thing is, when you're good at a lot of different things, you don't have to finish everything you start. You just have to spend certain time on that one thing. And then when you get bored of it, you go, okay, cool, I'm going to go to the other thing. And you keep turning the dial of all those things a little bit at a time every day. And then soon enough, one's going to get finished. And then you're going to slowly move the next one. And all of a sudden, by the time you get to a certain point, things are starting to connect and they're starting to grow. And when you start to happen, everything's like, oh, that happened, and then that happened, because you kept the dial turning. You don't have to spend all the 12 hours a day. You don't have to overwork yourself. Some days you'll start with like writing. Oh, I've got a mental block. Okay, fine, I'll go do this. And I'll start playing with my camera. Oh, I'm getting bored with that. Okay, I need to start doing something else, and just keep turning those dials. Over time, you're going to get there, and they're all going to get finished. And you're going to be surprised with yourself going, holy shit, how did I do that? But each day you got to keep turning that dial of all those things you want to do. And you don't have to just be one thing. You learn new traits from people along the way, some of them good, some of them bad. So you keep the good and forget the bad. That's not for you. Like, my advice wouldn't work for everyone, but I would tell them how I went through it. And they'll be like, oh, I like that bit that you did there. I wouldn't normally do that, but I'll take that. And then you take what's good for you and let the rest go and let it pass you. You don't have to take everyone's advice.
And like you mentioned, you don't have to take every bit of advice either, like that there will just be small segments of advice where you're like, that bit, it could just be the one line and you're like, that bit just connects with me, and that it's pretty, because what you just mentioned actually about, like, you're not going to be the greatest, but you will be one day. And for me, my outlook is like, okay, I might not be the greatest out of the 100 people that I'm doing it with,
I'm going to outwork
them. I will outwork them, and I will do the greatest job that I can possibly do. Do you know what I mean? And that's exactly. So I'm the greatest in my mind because I've given it every single like bit of blood, sweat, and tears that I've got to achieve that. You mentioned earlier about Muhammad Ali, and you also mentioned just about how like you've grown with your mindset just to never give up, and so who would you say some of your idols was growing up, either to inspire you into acting, or once you got into the industry, was there anybody that became an idol? They don't necessarily have to be acting. They could be, like you mentioned, Muhammad Ali, or even your parents or anything like that.
My dad, from the very beginning, was a tough bastard.
Yeah.
I'm one of 9 boys and 2 girls. It's a big family. You got to keep them straight. And I'm a twin. I have a twin brother. And so my dad, like, to keep us all busy, we were always doing 10,000 things. We were making concrete, reconcreting the outside, doing the garden, doing this 4-tier garden that my dad built. We would go apple picking, berry picking. We would go, and basically to get our seafood, we would go once every 3 or 4 months when the moon is at its full moon is out, and we would take this net out into these beach at 2 or 3 in the morning, where the moon's at its highest point on that full moon. All the fish are sleeping in these coves. And so my dad would swim this net out to show us how to do it by himself while we all watched this maybe 60-foot by 15-foot net, and then swim it around into a big bow like this. Then we would pull it towards the beach, and that was all seafood, flounder, crab. And that was our seafood for the next 4 months till the next full moon. And so we would clean and do all these things and clean and gut the fish and put them in certain bags and put them in our giant industrial freezer, right?
Yeah.
And so we were always doing stuff. We were always busy. So my dad taught us the hustle. That's where the hustle and grind comes from. And my dad said, son, you can't be good at just one thing anymore. You got to be good at everything. And I was like, damn, okay. But because our dad raised us in doing, like, we had to panel beat our own cars. When they were dense, we would get the grinder out, would pop the door out, we'd bang it out, regrind it, make some like clay, put it over, sand it down, spray paint it, put the tape on everywhere. Like, we did everything from fishing, growing food, to catching food, to going to a pig farm, catching a pig, killing it, gutting it, putting it in quarters, like everything. We go berry picking, the apple picking, right? And we were berry picking and apple picking. My dad in the river would put these eel traps. So once we finished the apple picking and the berry picking, we would get the eels on the way out.
Yeah.
Right? Because my dad wanted to teach us how to grow food, catch food, make your own everything, fix your own everything, grow your own everything.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know my dad was my idol until I grew up, because he left us with all these great things to build a life around. Now, he was hard on us. He beat us, but to get us in line, that many guys, and realizing now that, like, how amazing he really was, because my mum was the heart of the family. She was the love, the respect, the kindness, that kind of made us go, okay, you got to be tough and strong, but also be sensitive.
Yeah.
Even as men, right? And so him giving us, with my mom and dad giving us all these great things for life, right? So it made us go, you know what? Nothing's going to stop me. I'll be the best at what I'm going to do. And I'd go out there, right? My dad, we used to always watch cowboy movies. We used to watch Jesus of Nazareth. We would watch Seven Brides with Seven Brothers. We would watch all the Bonanza, all the old school films, right? Yeah. So we were fans of films, and then we watched martial arts films in the late 80s, 70s and 80s, Bruce Lee. And then you see Muhammad Ali, because we were big boxers. I'm a boxer, so I love Muhammad Ali. So we had all these cultural, ethnic people that we would be like, well, there's no other brown people on TV except for, Sidney Poitier, To Serve With Love, and all these great, like, artists that look like us on screen, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, man, those are dope. And then you see Boys in the Hood, and you see all these Lawrence Fishburne and Cuba Gooding Jr., and you're like, whoa, this is dope. More cool people who look like us, And then church, and couldn't do the sport thing. But watching all those people say, I'm the greatest, nothing can stop me. And he was also a spoken poet. And he was so smart, Muhammad Ali, that we were like, whoa, you can be smart, talented, and also say you're the greatest, and then become the greatest. Interesting mindset. So we would watch that, and because of what my mom and dad taught us, we were like, well, you know what? Nothing is stopping me anywhere. And also my dad would say to me, there's these little things that kind of keep me going. Also a guilt trip. He'd be like, don't you ever ruin the Baker name.
Pressure's on.
Pressure's on. And I was like, oh, what? And before I got into the film industry, that's what he always said. Yeah. And I took that really personal. And I was like, ruin it? Oh, I'm not going to ruin it. I'm going to make sure everyone knows the Baker name, and it's going to be from us. Yeah. And so that became a thing for me, right? I didn't, and then I would watch Denzel Washington and all these things, and I'm like, oh, I'm not saying I'm going to be like them, but that's just pushing me towards what I really wanted to do. Yeah. Right. And along the way, you'd see other people that were like great along the way, and you're like, holy, okay. And then I just keep seeing them from the beginning of their careers to like keep on, and they just keep getting better and keep getting better. And I'm like, must be something to this whole thing. And so that became, it wasn't like I had idols. It was more like I had a drive that my father and mother raised us with, and the strength and sensitivity to make sure that my dad is like, give your last money to someone who needs it more than you. And I was like, what? And I, really got it later on. I was like, but it's my last money, as a kid, you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then it's the humility, someone needs it more than you give it. And so, The Rock also has a belief system in it's important to be nice. No, it's nice to be important, but it's more important to be nice.
Yeah.
And he does it in a way that is like, he was my dad's favorite wrestler. The people chant. My dad used to stay up watching wrestling all the time. So The Rock became our kind of like, oh my gosh, he's actually one of us and he's making it. And then all of a sudden he started making movies. So I was like, oh, hold on here. When he was doing Scorpion King in the early days.
Yeah, early days.
And so I was like, there's actually one of us up there, And so they were idols in a certain way, but it wasn't like, because I was like, I'm going to be like them, but I'm going to be me.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm like, I'm never going to be The Rock, Denzel Washington, all of the other guys, but I'm going to be Sala Baker, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure everyone knows that Baker name. So it became my drive more than like idols. It just showed me certain things along the way that were like, oh, interesting. I'm going to take little bits of that and put it in my pocket, take bits of what you're doing and put it over here, and then made my own. It's what people say, you build your armor of all the things you're good at, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then once you get there, you should have all the pieces to keep you safe, keep you strong.
Yeah.
And so you just go along life and take little bits of people and thank them for the greatness that they've given you. Some people don't even know they give you goodness, right? I came to LA and I was shamed by my stupidity. I gotten successful and I bought a Range Rover and I was like driving around really fast like an idiot in Woodland Hills. And this woman in a white car was just swerving all over the place. And me being an egotistical male, stupid butthole, I ran around her and I was like, I opened my car, I beeped at her and I was like, hey, look where you're going. Watch out, you're going all over the road. And it was this tiny little frail Asian woman. And when I said it, I was like, she goes, oh my gosh, what a beautiful face. What ugly words come out of it. And I was like, I'm sorry. I love you. I'm so sorry. You know what I mean? And from that day onwards, I was like, you need to calm your undies. You just got told by a woman in a very beautiful way that wasn't very nice.
Yeah.
And so there's all these little things that you pick up along the way that go, hey, take it easy. And the thing we got to do is listen to our intuition and believe in that when certain things that you do that you're like, hey, that wasn't cool, then you go, oh, I need to adjust that. I need to change this and make sure I'm being, nice to people and everyone's on their own journey, trying to figure life out. And we're all just trying to do it right next to each other and we don't really realize it because we're stuck in our own mind, in our own head. So, it's like our body, right? If our body tells us something up, it's going to make, and if you don't do anything about it, you're going to be coughing harder. Next couple of days, don't do anything about it. You're going to be lying in bed. I'm sick. I can't get out of bed. Don't do anything about it. Now you're in hospital. But we had all the signs along the way. We just weren't paying attention. And it's the same with life. Like, have a belief system in something. It doesn't have to be God or whatever it is. Just believe in something and put it out there to the universe or put it out there to God and just believe in it that I'm going to get there. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm in it to win it. And it's the thing you want is never easy. Yeah. It's always going to be hard. And as I've learned, once you're successful something, then it gets harder because you're leveling up. Each level gets harder. It doesn't get easier. It gets harder. It gets harder because you want to push yourself to go further and better than you were yesterday or last week. So there's all these things that we can do and say, but it's like, just believe in yourself and go forth. Nothing can stop you. Nothing can stop you except for you.
So would you say that's how you've achieved the success that you have, is like because of your mindset?
Yeah. And it's like when you've gone through tough stuff, it teaches you that at the end of the day, we're all the same. We all get the same lessons in life, just differently. The way we receive it, the way it comes to us, what we do with it, how we deal with it. We are products of how our parents raised us, where our parents raised us, and who they raised us around. And like I said already, where we are in life, where we're going, whether we were raised one place and then moved to another, but it's up to you what you do with it. We can all blame someone for why I'm not somewhere, but when you blame and when you start saying, this should be me, what happens, what that does is it pushes you further away from what you're really trying to do because you haven't learned the real lesson.
Yeah.
You should never do anything. You should never get anything. Work hard and put it out there. And what's for you will come to you if you're patient.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree with that, to be fair. And I think it's quite cool what you said there as well, is that about who you're surrounded by. And I'm quite a big believer in that as well, that I think depends on who you're surrounded by. You will either adapt it and you will become it, or you will see the faults in it and you will change it and you'll go the opposite way.
I didn't know why our dad was beating us as a young kid.
Yeah.
But it was to keep us in line and to make sure we didn't get out there. And, it's the old way. I'm not saying it's the best way or the right way. I'm just saying we were raised in a certain way that would try and, stop us from doing the boy stuff that we do,
Yeah.
But later on in life, I was like, oh my gosh, I realized what my dad was doing.
Yeah.
11 kids that he's got to figure out different personalities and who's what and who's this and who's that in the family. Everyone's got to be treated differently, right? So the way he raised me was differently the way he raised everyone in the house.
Yeah.
But he did it in a way that would push me. Like that thing where he said, oh, don't you ruin the Baker name? That was my thing. That was my thing. I was like, oh, ruin it? Oh, hell no. I'm going to take that thing to the top and everyone's going to know about it.
Yeah.
And that became my ugh.
Yeah.
And just because of that and because of how my mom and dad raised us to never give up, go out there with a big heart, learn from everyone, travel the world and see what you can do.
Yeah.
And meeting like when you travel, you meet new people, you learn new things. You like I mentioned earlier, you pick up things that are good for you and that are not, and you leave them go. But that's what builds your army of credibility, but also strength to get past all these tough things that are going to keep coming to you. And what makes a person great, this is like one of my keys, what makes a person great is how you deal with those lessons in life. How you take them and see what's going on and move forth with that attitude of going, okay, dope, okay, it's not the greatest thing for me, but look, something better is coming. If I don't get that audition, I was like, that's okay. That audition is not for me, but I guarantee you what, they're never going to forget that audition. I might not be right. I might not be right for that job right there, but they're going to remember me for something else later. That's how I saw it. And I
definitely agree with that as well.
I ended up booking 14% of my auditions.
That's a high
even though
rate.
I didn't, even though I didn't get that many. I've done 250, 260 movies and TV shows over the last 20 years.
Wow.
But guess how many I missed? Thousands.
Yeah.
Thousands. But
Just
I'm still
touching on
happy. I'm still happy.
that's the key, right? That's the key. You got to be happy. Just touching on what you actually said there. So you've done 260 movies, TV shows, and stuff like that, roughly, give or take. And that in your career, what would you say has been your proudest moment, or even in your life? So it can either be personal or business.
Ask me the question again. I just want to.
So, what has been your proudest moment in your career or life?
What's been cool, because I had to have you ask me that again because I was like such a cool question, but it was like, for me, it's been, the industry is really tough, right?
Yeah.
And to get from one thing to do the next and then to the next, right? There's all these boxes that people put you in, studios, whatever,
Yeah.
you know. The best thing is for me is believing that I can be a good actor, starting out in stunts.
Yeah.
Because when I first started in stunts in America, when I first came to LA, they were like, hey man, just so you know, you can't be a stuntman and an actor. You got to choose. This is what everyone was telling me. And I was like,
Yeah.
what? I said, first of all, just to let you know, there's only 3 people who tell me what to do in this world. My mother, my father, and my girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
No one else tells me what to do. So I went against that grain and did both and was doing both. And a lot of people in the industry didn't like me doing that. They were like, yo, Sala thinks he's an actor and stuntman. You can't do both. You got to choose. And I was like, you can suck it because no one's telling me what to do and I'm going to do both. So for the next 6 to 8, 9 years, half of the industry did not like me. But the other half was like, oh, he's pretty dope.
Yeah.
Right? So then I started doing this. And I was doing it in big movies, Star Trek, Equalizer, doing this, doing that. And then all of a sudden, those people that didn't want me started calling me. And I was like, I was actually busy working.
Yeah.
And then I became one of the, not the first, but became one of the first stunt guys to focus on acting, even when they told us you're not allowed.
Yeah, sure.
So then more people were starting to do it because they saw me doing it. And I started doing it on the biggest movies of all.
Yeah.
And then people were like, oh shit, Sala's doing stunts and acting. Maybe I can do it. I says, no one can tell you what to do, man. Do what you want. Just don't listen to them. Don't listen to anyone who doesn't believe in what you believe in. That's the key. People will say, oh, you can't do it, man. Oh, that's not for you. Oh, this and that and that. I'm like, oh, cool. I don't care. That's your beliefs, not mine.
Yeah.
And that's part of the thing where I say, don't listen to everyone. Just like find your way through the people, the naysayers or the people who don't, who don't believe in it because they didn't believe in themselves. That's why they didn't get there.
Yeah.
It took me, I've been in Los Angeles now. I got there in August 99.
Wow.
And I'm still there. Right?
Which it must have been hard at that time as well, because
it was
I think
so hard to
like Hollywood and like it must have been very almost stereotyped to the roles, like you mentioned about being put in boxes and stuff like that. And that's not even your own, like you boxing your own limitations, but people boxing them for you.
But here's the thing. Here's what I did with that. I was like, oh, I don't care. I'll play a bad guy, whatever. I'll play a bad guy in every movie. I'm not saying I'm a bad guy in real life, but people watch me. They're like, oh my gosh, you're such a nice person, but you're an asshole on TV and movies. I'm like, yeah, because here's the thing. If they want to put me in that box, I'm going to be the best guy in that box.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the best guy in that box. And then all of a sudden, I'm doing it with Denzel Washington, Jamie Foxx, Lauren Cohan, Jennifer Garner. I'm doing it with all the top actors in The Rock, Jason Momoa. I'm doing it with everyone.
Oh, yeah, you was in Fast and Furious 8, right?
What's that?
Was it Fast and Furious 8?
Jason Momoa I'm not. I did Braven with him. his movie
Oh,
that he produced.
I thought you was in a Fast and Furious film as well, though, right?
No,
Or
no,
did you
no,
do
no, no,
stunts?
no,
Oh, I
no,
thought I
not
see that on one of your films. I went through it earlier, and I thought I see it.
no. I've done a lot of Marvel and DC stuff,
Oh,
but
okay.
but that's the thing. It's like I don't care what box you put me in because I'll make sure I'm the best in that box. But the thing
Yeah,
is, they want me to work because I'm a good bad guy. And
yeah,
so to me, it's like get the work, do your best at it, like Sherlock Holmes. That was one of my favorite movies too. We were in London shooting Sherlock Holmes with Robert Downey Jr. And I'm freaking out because I'm doing my scene with him. And I go, Robert, I'm a bit, you know, nervous to do the scene with you because I don't know how to play it.
yeah,
Right. He looks at me and goes, Sala, all you got to do is be you and everything will shine through. And I was like, Robert Downey Jr. just told me just be Sala Baker.
yeah,
And then that's when I did the whole whistling thing with the apple, with the one eye,
yeah,
and I got the most response. They were like, dude, I've never seen such wonderful acting with nothing being said.
yeah,
And like you've said so much with no dialogue. And so it doesn't matter how big the role, how small, it's what you do with it.
yeah,
Like like I say, take every role that comes to you. Just make sure you do the best, your best at it.
yeah.
Give your everything. Because people will be like, oh, wow, he's actually awesome, or she's awesome. Like giving everything will get you a lot further than thinking you're the best.
Yeah, 100%.
In the way of like being too ego. Like you can be confident without being,
Yeah,
being
definitely. I think you got to find that barrier for sure.
yeah, yeah. And so it's life can be wonderful if you look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah,
We can all be mad at everyone and say, I didn't get that because of them. It's like, oh, you need to just take a course on being grateful and thankful for being here, having this opportunity, being around great people. You don't
yeah,
have to win with them. Like, because I work with all these great actors. I'm like, I want to do acting right next to them, but I'm doing stunts. And I'm like, you know what? No one's closer than me right now
yeah,
because I'm doing a fight with them. So I'm like,
yeah, definitely.
it doesn't matter that I'm not saying dialogue right now. I'm learning from Ian McKellen, like, Christopher Lee on Lord of the Rings, Viggo
Yeah,
Mortensen, Sean Bean, all these people that I grew up watching. I'm like, oh, wow, this is a learning lesson in its own. I get acting classes myself from every movie I do from looking at the lead actor and actress.
yeah,
I would watch Denzel when me and Tate were doing an Equalizer. Denzel would be off just before a take. He'd be off walking the aisles, and I would like freaking be like a stalker in every aisle going, what is he doing? And I would see him going through his lines, and I would see him close his eyes, and he would vision stuff. And then he would just like, I'm ready. And I was like, oh, that was his whole routine, like his thing that he does before. So I would
yeah,
just watch all these people and go, look, I'm getting acting classes from this person right here, from that woman, from that actor, from that person. And that's how I kind of just made the best of every opportunity at work. You can be at work as an extra, you could sit around and do nothing, or you go and ask questions because
yeah,
it's free film school. As an extra, I tell this to everyone, go be an extra. You're getting paid to go to film school.
yeah,
You're getting paid to go get 3 meals a day to be on set with the lead actor and actress of that show. And you can ask questions of crew, cast, everyone. You could
yeah.
just sit, or you could just sit in your trailer and think you're cool and not talk to anyone.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good bit. I think would that be the advice that you would offer to anybody that was like wanting to
Well,
kind of follow your footsteps is to start in extras?
if dude, start as an extra, and then what I say to is, look,
Yeah,
master you is out there and it's free.
yeah,
Master YouTube.
yeah, perfect.
Anything you need. You watch your favorite acting scene. You want to shoot your own movie? Watch your favorite acting scene with a man or a woman.
Yeah,
Study it. it can be a 2-minute scene, right? You can get your phone, because you can make a movie on your phone these days. Get your phone, do the same wide shot, do a medium, and do the tight exactly in a similar place. Get a friend to play the other character, and then run that scene. And then when you've done that scene and you've shot it, put it on your social media. And then what you do is, with that exact same scene, you go and you use the same shots, exact same sizes, but you change the dialogue and the scene to whatever you want it to be. Happy scene, sad scene, like whatever, comedy, action, drama, anything, and you change it. And then now you're learning how to make a scene. You're learning how to write some dialogue, and that way you don't need to go to acting school. I mean, yes, you do some things that, like, but if you can't afford it, watch your favorite actors, do what they do, copy them, see how they do. YouTube, you can. But I watch Actors Studio all the time. Actors Access, all these certain actors, Actors Table, I think it's called.
Okay.
Anyway, there's a bunch of them on YouTube. But that way, if you don't have money and you have a cell phone, you can make anything happen.
Yeah.
And with, like what I said earlier, it's like everything's out there for the taking. It's just work harder than the next person. If everyone wants to go out, then let them go out. You stay home and do your homework.
Yeah.
Because in 5 years of you staying home and them going out, they're still going out. Nothing's changed, but you'll be a director, producer, and a writer in 5 years.
I couldn't agree more with that.
Of maybe 10 short films.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
You know, I just did both. You know, because it was like, I could never go from job to job. Every time I'd finish a job, I'd be like, I need to enjoy the fruits of my labor.
Yeah.
Not just go from one job, another job. And then you don't realize what you've just done. And you just go to the next job and the next job and the next job. So everyone's different, you know. To be the best, you got to work hard like the best.
Yeah.
Like The Rock, man, he's working 24/7. He's always, every movie, he's in great shape. You'd never see that guy fat, ever. But that's the person that he wants to be, right? Now he sets a precedence of, okay, if you want to be an action star, you don't need a muscle suit. You got to build one.
Yeah, definitely. You got to put the work in.
But that's his work, right? I'm not saying everyone has to be there. I'm just saying,
yeah, of course,
choose what you want to do and go for it, whatever that is. Have a clear mind of what you want to do. Yeah. It doesn't have to stay the same thing. You can start up being an actor and then end up being a producer. Start up being an actor, end up being a writer, director, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But that can always change, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's perfect. I mean, that wraps up for everything I have to ask. So I appreciate you jumping on. If you just want to drop your Instagram handle and anywhere that people can support you, feel free to let me know.
Yeah, I mean, I only have Instagram and Facebook, but it's just Sala Baker, at Sala Baker. So, yeah, man, I love teaching. I love learning, and I love helping people. But the only thing is that I can't help you if you don't help yourself.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, it's like people ask me for help, and I'm like, you have a headshot? No. I'm like, oh, okay. You need to do your own work because you just want people to do the work for you.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like not everyone can do it. It takes a never give up attitude and belief in yourself over anything else.
Yeah.
Because that's hard to do. It's not easy. You have to always try and be up. Even when you're down, you can be down, but don't stay down too long, you know?
Yeah.
It's just, and for me, the key has been my fitness. You know, Tate, you know, is always training, and I got into jujitsu and staying in the gym. And now at our age, we're in great shape because that to me, that has been the driving force.
Yeah.
Because when you're in the gym, you forget about, I can't do it. I just got to keep going every day. The same thing you put into your body, the same thing you put into your craft.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't agree more, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it, brother. This has been awesome.
Thank you for tuning into this episode of It Was All a Dream. We appreciate your time and support.
We hope that you enjoyed the episode and you feel inspired to achieve your dreams. Be sure to give us a follow on social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube and Twitter, where you can contact us and stay connected with us if you have any feedback on the episodes or guest recommendations. Be sure to stick around after this to see what's upcoming in the next episode. Thank you.